Tonight in the spotlight, a fashion racket of Lululemon larceny.
These ladies would come in, they would immediately select a number of items, high-value clothing from different retailers.
How detectives just pulled the linchpin on a local retail theft scheme. A teen's murder and a mother's mission.
I want his murderers to remember his eyes. I want them to remember his smile.
The deadly shooting has left her devastated, and where it happened has left her perplexed. A learning curve for Seattle's interim police chief.
The fact that we have so many juveniles carrying firearms, using firearms, this is an area that I need to educate myself in right now.
The teen violence crisis exposing their easy access to guns. The call for new laws and accountability for kid criminals is in the spotlight.
The Spotlight brought to you by Beacon Plumbing.
A crew of organized retail theft suspects loading up their bags and walking out of stores from Snohomish to Pierce County. We first showed you this surveillance video last April. Now, new video shows them in a parking lot selling the stolen goods to a fence. That buyer busted. Good evening and thanks for joining us for the Spotlight tonight. I'm David Rose, and we begin with a 5-finger discount and a mid-6-figure hit to local businesses. The crackdown continues on a theft ring accused of stealing a $500,000 worth of clothing from stores like Lululemon and Ulta. Their loss prevention officers teaming up with Bellevue police to put a stop to all that stealing. And now detectives say they have evidence that the primary suspect enlisted the aid of an 11-year-old girl as one of her accomplices.
We are objecting to any temporary release, and we ask the court to maintain its current decision on bail and conditions.
Janice Downs was back in King County Court this week, asking Judge David Keenan to release her from jail on electronic home monitoring. Her attorney arguing she needs to go to Pierce County to answer to a new felony charge.
And we've asked the court for anywhere from 48 hours to 72 hours to accomplish that.
The prosecutor objecting to that motion.
Ms. Downs does not need to be released to address her Pierce County warrant. She can be transferred there without being released from custody.
It's the latest legal wrangling as her case works its way through the courts. Downs is charged with 5 felony counts of organized retail theft in King County. The same charge in Pierce County, where she's accused of stealing from the Lululemon in the Tacoma Mall. Even has charges filed now across state lines.
A 16-count indictment charging her with theft and organized retail was filed in Oregon on April 22nd, 2024.
Meanwhile, Bellevue police have been hard at work rolling up the rest of her alleged crew. Charges were referred this week to the prosecutor on 3 more women.
These ladies would come in, they would immediately select a number of items, high-value clothing from different retailers, Lululemon, Nordstrom, Macy's, and then they would immediately exit and leave.
State of Washington versus Kwok Trung Quinn.
But the coup de grace for detectives in this 9-month-long investigation is the arrest of this man, Kwok Nguyen, the alleged fence. Detectives say this video shows him meeting with Downs, where he paid cash for every armload of stolen merchandise.
Sir, you have been charged in count 1 with trafficking in stolen property in the first degree.
Detectives say Nguyen first popped up on their radar when police learned he'd purchased thousands of dollars worth of fragrances and sunglasses stolen from Nordstrom, paying 25 cents on the dollar. Prosecutors are praising Bellevue police for dismantling the theft ring.
The issue that it creates is that this is a public safety issue at its core.
Patrick Hines is the chief deputy of the Economic Crimes and Wage Theft Division for the King County Prosecutor's Office. He's part of a working group trying to make it easier for law enforcement to compile organized retail theft cases that often stretch across multiple counties.
Many of these incidents, these crimes, involve either a threat of violence or actual violence. Even if they don't, they're scary.
A successful prosecution of Downs and her crew of alleged Lululemon thieves would send a message to others looking to make a dishonest living. Detectives have sent prosecutors hundreds of pages of evidence from numerous thefts across western Washington. Lululemon Loss Prevention says thefts dropped 80% in the first month after Downs was arrested. Detectives are urging prosecutors to level a more serious charge of leading organized crime.
But in order to charge someone with leading organized crime, you need to prove that they were the individual who organized, financed, or directed what was going on. that's not the same thing as being someone who does it a lot with a lot of other people.
For now, Judge Keenan ruled that Downs is going nowhere.
I don't have much confidence with EHM, without EHM, that the defendant will appear for court and comply with the court's orders, so that request is denied.
If Downs does manage to post her $100,000 bail in King County, Bellevue Police Detective Jeff Christensen says he will be waiting to take her to the next jail she'll call home until trial. Well, body camera video from Seattle police showing the moment they arrested a 13-year-old and two 14-year-olds. Police say they flashed modified guns during a Chinatown Seafair parade. Now they're all facing unlawful possession of a firearm charges, and the 13-year-old is facing an additional charge of possessing a machine gun. According to the court documents, the gun had a mechanism on it that allows the gun to fire multiple rounds just by pressing the trigger.
Scrambled in panic, running all different ways. It was all the people rushing in were right off of the street here.
During their court appearance on Thursday, prosecutors asked the judge to hold each of them in secure detention and prevent them from attending the Seafair Torchlight Parade. 2 of the 3 teens were released and granted electronic home monitoring. 1 is still in custody. It is an alarming trend in youth violence. In the first 5 months of this year, King County prosecutors filed 310 juvenile felony cases involving victims and weapons. So far this year, the number of young people killed by gunfire is more than double of all last year. The Spotlight's Frankie Thompson spoke with prosecutors who say the solutions to save lives need to come from legislators.
Suspects, get down! As more teenagers are getting their hands on guns, law enforcement act with urgency to take them down. Like this newly released body camera video from Seattle police arresting a 13-year-old and 2 14-year-olds. Police say they flashed modified guns during a Chinatown Seafair parade on Sunday, sending the crowd running for their safety.
The fact that we have so many juveniles carrying firearms, using firearms, this is an area that I need to educate myself in right now. It's not surprising.
Interim Police Chief Sue Rahr says Seattle has never seen this level of gunfire before, but the issue is also felt throughout King County, with many of the suspects behind the trigger not even old enough to vote.
We've charged more homicide cases with juvenile victims so far in 2024 than we have in some previous years for the entire year.
In the latest data from King County Medical Examiner's Office, 13 young people were victims of homicide. All of them were 17 years old and younger, all of them killed by gunfire. The most recent are 2 teens who lost their lives in Auburn just days apart this month. Casey McNerthney with the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office says the reason there is such an uptick in kids with guns is their access to ghost guns and modified guns known as switches.
A lot of these are stolen guns. A lot of them are on the streets. And that's what makes it so hard, is also how you can get guns between jurisdictions. So if Seattle or King County were to pass laws, it may not stop it because of the ease that illegally possessed guns can come from other counties or other states.
That's why prosecutors are calling on state lawmakers to create legislation in the next session to curb the trend of youth gun violence. The Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs is also supporting a change in laws for the future of public safety.
The issue of juvenile crime, I think, is going to be a really substantial issue for this state for the next couple of years.
For the Spotlight, I'm Frankie Thompson.
Well, that was Steve Strand, the executive director of the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. He says his team is speaking with state lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, and they're discussing ideas on legislation to address the issue. Well, detectives and Valley SWAT teams arrested 2 more suspects in connection with the murder of a 13-year-old boy in Kent. Police say 13-year-old Matthew Strakovi was robbed and shot after meeting up with 3 people earlier this month at Turnkeep Park. Detectives arrested an 18-year-old Monday who arranged the meeting, who said he wanted to buy a camera from the kids who were there and then set up the robbery and murder. He's in jail on murder charges. But since then, Kent police identified 2 other suspects, including the actual shooter. They're 16 and 19. They were arrested on Thursday at a home in Covington. And the murder of a teenager in Auburn has left his mom heartbroken and confused. 16-year-old Xavier Landry was shot to death on a street in the night of July 12th. His mom says she's not sure what he was even doing in Auburn that night. She reached out to us, and the Spotlight's Dave Detling is putting her plea for justice in the Spotlight.
I'm replaying just parents inboxing me and people inboxing me and telling me how they seen my son's body.
Since the murder of her 16-year-old son, this King County mom has been on a social media mission, posting pictures of Xavier Landry for one specific purpose.
They're really for his killers. I want his murderers to remember his eyes. I want them to remember his smile.
Lanisha Landry says the posts and her speaking out is in hopes of generating leads as to what happened in and around this Auburn Chevron parking lot on July 12th.
I don't know much of anything, and I want answers. I want answers. I want justice. I'm not going to stop until I get them.
According to investigators, 16-year-old Xavier Landry was found shot to death near the Chevron gas station on A Street around 10:45. Xavier's mom says her son was with two friends in the nearby parking lot. Investigators say they were also shot, taken to a nearby hospital, and later released. According to police, all three victims, including Xavier, did not have any weapons on them.
He never promoted that guns. He never promoted going out and causing harm on someone else.
Family says he was a good kid, even goofy, with lots of personality.
Kind-hearted, smart, loved.
His family says Xavier lived in Des Moines and never hung out in Auburn, which is why they feel confused.
I'm sad, I'm angry at times.
She says she's now a member of an unofficial club, parents of children lost to gun violence.
I have joined a club that I never wanted to be a part of. I never thought I would be a part of.
For the Spotlight, I'm Dave Detling.
Lanisha told me she is not going to let his death be in vain, and she wants to speak for all the parents who have lost kids to gun violence this year. Auburn police did not release any suspect information in the case. If you saw anything suspicious or if you know who was involved that night, you will remain anonymous when you submit a tip to Crime Stoppers and get a $1,000 cash reward. Just use the P3 Tips app on your cell phone. We are a step closer to finding out whether Seattle's Juvenile Detention Center will stay open. King County Council's Law and Justice Committee has voted to include all council members on the final decision. County Executive Dow Constantine has been pushing to abolish and reshape juvenile detention centers. The Spotlight's Alejandra Guzman takes a closer look at the vote that comes after Councilmember Reagan Dunn filed a motion to keep the youth jail open until 2028.
We want to keep the youth jail open because we are seeing an increasing number of gun-related violent crimes involving teenagers.
This is true according to King County juvenile prosecutors. Check out what happened Sunday during the Seafair Parade.
Oh, there you go.
Police arrested 3 teens for flaunting guns. Since the 1990s, prosecutors say they've seen a sharp decline in the number of teen cases referred to them. Back then, they had 15,000 cases a year. In 2019, they saw 2,800. COVID brought those numbers to an all-time low. While this 2024 numbers may be lower than 2023, prosecutors are concerned.
What should concern everybody is the cases that are coming in do disproportionately involve more serious cases.
Those are the teens currently detained in the Patricia Clark Children and Family Justice Center. Theories to blame include guns readily accessible and lack of resources and opportunities. Kathy, who was at the Seafair incident, was among those who shared her opinion with council members.
I wondered if a judge will release these children, they're not adults, they're children, to go home but making adult decisions, to go home with an ankle bracelet only to reoffend again. Next time someone could die, and that could be me, it could be any of us.
She believes we need a functioning juvenile detention facility while others working close with the youth disagree.
At the end of the day, the 13, 14-year-olds that were just mentioned are kids. And they are kids with largely unmet mental health and chemical dependency needs.
Council members themselves have been going back and forth on the issue. Their vote split 50-50, forcing the committee to advance the proposal without recommendation to the full council for continued conversation.
I'm hopeful that we can come up with some language that will both reflect the necessity to currently maintain the current system, but also in my mind, from my perspective, I'm not sure that this is going to have full support from everybody, but that we are committed to continuing the conversation to identify a system that is going to lead to better outcomes.
For the Spotlight, I'm Alejandra Guzman.
State law requires every county to have a juvenile facility. King County Executive Dow Constantine says he has made it clear the existing facility cannot and will not be replaced until there's a demonstrated successful alternative in place. Well, authorities in Pierce County are trying to track down a prolific theft suspect, and this is a guy that you helped identify. It's the case of the stolen tractor. It all started with this photo we first showed you back in February. It shows thieves in a white pickup truck stealing a $100,000 tractor from Fircrest Golf Club. Detectives say our story led to a Crime Stoppers tip that the tractor was being sold on OfferUp under the name Make a Deal. The post had photos of the tractor taken at the golf course a week prior to the theft. Turns out, detectives say this man, 39-year-old Nick Laskovzov, was seen on camera at the golf course for several days, hanging out in the parking lot. Fircrest detectives say he put the tractor up for sale before he stole it. Police also found surveillance video showing Nick and an unidentified man towing the tractor into a business park the same night it was stolen. Officers searched but were unable to find the tractor, but they had enough evidence that prosecutors filed charges. So now Nick Laskovzov has a felony warrant for his arrest. I also found 2 other cases in Pierce County he's wanted for, including one for burglary and theft. He's 5 feet 7 inches tall, 155 pounds. He hangs out in Spanaway. If you see him, call 911. If you know where he stays, Crime Stoppers will pay you a cash reward for the information. Submit a tip anonymously by calling 1-800-222-TIPS or use the P3 Tips app. The notorious nuisance driver known as the Belltown Hellcat back in court. This guy's disregard for the legal system back on dramatic display. The Hellcat driver, whose real name is Miles Hudson, appeared to face charges of harassing an ex-girlfriend. He's accused of stalking that woman, even sharing revenge porn of her online with everybody to see. What a creep. Spotlight's A.J. Janavelle takes us inside the latest hearing.
I'm sorry about that. My fault. We chilling.
An absolute debacle in Seattle court on Wednesday.
He appears to be making a mockery of this hearing.
Miles Hudson was ordered to appear in person during this hearing. The Belltown Hellcat instead called into court remotely.
I see that we have lost the video connection with Mr. Hudson.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
I do think we need Mr. Hudson on video.
Mr. Hudson, are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Can you plug the video?
And when he did have his camera on, this is what he looked like.
Facial covering that's covering both his mouth, his nose, his head, and he has some kind of like gaming or sunglasses on. I believe that attire is entirely inappropriate for the court.
Hudson refused to take any of it off.
He did state that his face covering, he does have to wear that for religious reasons.
Judge Willie Gregory asked Hudson what religion several times, but he never gave a coherent answer. And the Belltown Hellcat's defense attorney also took the blame for Hudson not following the direct order to show up to court in person.
I would just say that any confusion about that would be based on my negligence in advising him.
Gregory was not having any of Hudson's shenanigans and canceled the hearing.
I don't know if I think he's not taking this seriously enough, but I'm going to take it serious at this time. I'm going to keep the bench warrant in effect.
For the Spotlight, I'm A.J. Janavelle.
So right now, Hudson still has an active warrant for $5,000. He is scheduled to be in court on Monday, not just for the stalking case, but also for his reckless driving charges. The Stars and Stripes swiped, an American flag stolen from the Kitsap County Courthouse. Detectives reached out to me. They want your help to identify this thief. Surveillance video showing a man walking around the building. He looked inside the locked glass doors, and then he went over to the flagpole and he lowered all 3 flags, but he only took one of them. The U.S. flag, just wads it up. No respect for the flag. Surveillance footage showed him driving away in this green Dodge Dakota truck. Deputies say it's got a toolbox in the bed. If you recognize that truck or you know who the man is, please contact the Kitsap County Sheriff's Office or Crime Stoppers. A West Seattle restaurant has been broken into 6 times in the past 2 years, the most recent last weekend. The owners tell us the crimes really ramped up last year. As the Spotlight's Jennifer Dowling reports, now they're taking some new measures to prevent the thieves.
All right, here's that black key. Oh, thanks.
At Pecos Pit, team members are dishing out some new menu items, including a popular barbecue burrito.
We love West Seattle, and we're, still here, going strong.
That's despite last Sunday's 2 a.m. break-in at the West Seattle location, the latest in a long string of burglaries here.
The break-ins have just gotten really bad.
McLaughlin says the drive-through window had already been fortified following one of the previous break-ins.
So this is a metal wrought iron gate that we've put in place.
Sunday, thieves smashed through a side window and mangled the store safe.
This time they decided to go in through this window here, which is a double pane window, and they shattered that.
Spokesperson Bree Noble says this location has been targeted 6 times in the past couple years. And since 2020, there have been around 12 to 15 break-ins reported at all locations, including the corporate office in Kent. The company's food truck has also been targeted.
We have government mandates that are raising all of our benefits and our wages that we pay our team members. We have high occupancy costs. And now with these break-ins, it's really hard for us to operate a business in Seattle.
For now, signs are going up alerting customers this restaurant is not accepting cash. McLaughlin says a nearby Taco Time has also made the change.
They've done credit only for the past year because they get broken into so many times.
He thanks those customers for their continued support and team members for their resilience.
I want to give mad props to my team because we came in after the break-in, we cleaned up the glass, we put wood in the window, and we were open for business that day. So no matter how hard things are sometimes, we just still persevere and keep going.
For the Spotlight, I'm Jennifer Dowling.
Now, if you want to stop by for some barbecue to support the restaurant, just remember to bring your credit or debit card. Well, a reminder that when the sun's out, the guns come out, so keep your head on a swivel. That'll do it for us tonight on the Spotlight. Until next time, I'm David Rose. Please stay safe.